Hi, welcome to uscgmp.com. This is PalasH. Today we will give training on quality risk assessment. Before start my training session, I will give my brief introductions. I have completed my BPharm and MPharm from West Bengal, and from 6 years I am working in pharmaceutical industry. Right now I'm working for prestigious pharmaceutical company, India, and I'm looking after qualification and validations over there. Today we'll learn how we can uh, implement risk assessment in our routine and regular practices when we are looking after the qualifications or validation aspects for any machines, equipment or system. Quality risk management, as we know, quality risk management nowadays using in across the globe, and our main intentions or expectations, you can say, to assess what is the risks within the process or system, and how the control measures can be drawn to reduce the risk level, and what is the control, what is the mitigation strategy for future. In this session, we will discuss about the brief introduction of this management system, then correlations between the quantitative and qualitative approach. Because these are two approaches are available: high, medium risks, or numbering system. People are using different numbering scales. And implementation assessment: how we can implement or assess the risks. And anyhow, we will discuss with practical examples. So first of all, we will start what is quality. The degree to which a set of inherent properties of a product, system or process fulfill its requirement. When you discuss about the quality, what is quality, people are having their own aspects. They are having different kind of answers. We have drawn it from ICH Q9. Risk assessment always a sequence. The sequence we can see in ICH Q9. From there it has been taken in Manuware, PICS, WHO, and lots of the popular regulatory as well as autonomous body, they have captured the same scenario. Risk assessment is the identifications, analysis and evaluations. How we can do the assessment in kind of you need to identify the risks, then you need to analyze what is the severity of the risks, what is the probability, and how you can control. The evaluations are there. Before control, there's the evaluations. Then risk control can be done in two ways: risk reductions, you have to give some medications or inline justifications how you can reduce the risks. Then risk acceptance. After that, the output and result you need to discuss with the management for further implementations. And risk review. Risk review is also an important event that you need to be incorporated with the risk assessment, because each and every assessment has been done based on the knowledge, based on the teamwork. After that, the review should to be implemented in place. We will discuss later on what are the consequences of the risk review events. And risk assessment as the aid to clarity define the risk assessment for risks. Assessment propose the three fundamental questions are helpful: what might go wrong, what is the likelihood or probability it will go wrong, and what are the consequences of severity. So we'll now in the slide number 7, it is risk analysis. Risk analysis is the estimation of the risks associated with the identified hazard. It is a qualitative or quantitative process of linking the likelihood of occurrence and severity of harm. In some risk management tools, the ability to detect the harm also factor the estimation of the risks. So in risk analysis, we need to correlate the likelihood, there is the probability, the probable reasons, and the severity of the harms, how severe it is. The two terminologies required for analysis of risks. One is severity, how much severe, whether your patient is impacting or not impacting. And what is the likelihood, how many times, once in a while, once in a year, once in a month, once in a week, once in a day, how. Then based on that, the risk management tool having own ability to detect the harm, that is called detectability, and also the factor in the estimation of the risks. Risk evaluation comprise with the identifications and analysis against the given risk criteria. Risk evaluation consider the strength of evidence for all three fundamental questions, whatever I have shown in earlier slide. Then risk control. Risk control includes decision making to reduce and accept risks. You need to accept risks always, because all process having its inherent risk probability, so that you need to be accept. The purpose of the risk control is to reduce the risk to an acceptable level. The amount of effort used for the risk control should be proportional to the significance of risks. Decision makers might use different process, including benefit cost analysis, for understanding the optimal level of the risk control. Risk control mitigation focus on the following questions: what is the risk above an acceptable level? What can be done to reduce or eliminate the risks? What is the appropriate balance among benefits, risks, and resources? Are new risks introduced as a result of identified risks being controlled? Risk reduction. Risk reduction focused on the process for mitigations or avoidance of quality risks when it exceeds a specified acceptable level. Risk reduction might include actions taken to mitigate the severity and probability of the harm. Process that improve the detectability of hazard and quality risks might also use as a part of risk control strategy. The implementation of risk reduction measure can introduce a new risk into a system or increase the significance of other existing risks. So reductions, how we can reduce the risks that need to be mitigated. So what we learn up to that, we have a severity in our process that need to be assessed, and what is the probability that need to be drawn. Based on that, you will get how much the risks in your process is lying. Based on that, you can have a mitigation policy. How do you mitigate after a certain level? Suppose you have a low risk, even low risk, there is a possibility you can give a more control to stay the risks in the low level, up to low level. And once it is a medium and high, all risks should to be attended with good solution, and you should have a good robust procedure to reduce the risks. The implement of the risk reduction measures, sometimes we give them measures how we can reduce the risks. We need to again look that one also, that can increase our risks in the system again. So you should always look back your implementations, what are the measures you are going to take for the risk reductions. Slide number 11, risk acceptance. Risk acceptance is a decision to accept risks. Risk acceptance can be a formal decision to accept the residual risks, or it can be a passive decision in which residual risks are not specified. For some type of harms event, the best quality risk management practice might not entirely eliminate the risks. We cannot say that once you've done the risk assessment, so there is no risk. In this circumstance, it might be agreed that an appropriate quality risk management strategy has been applied and quality risk is reduced to a specific acceptance level. So we need to pull all the high and medium risks to acceptable level. And you again to relook your risk management once in a while. Once you discuss this communication, ensure that the appropriate information is reported to the stakeholder during the risk management. Communicating risks may vary from informal, electronic or more informal approved documentations. As you know, we have done a risk assessment, we get some positive values and we drawn some conclusion that we can reduce our risks. That conclusion might have been effect in your documentation. You may have revised your recipe through quality system or taking change notification. So risk communication should to be required to the stakeholder that we have find the risk and we have find the solution, and for that solution you need to revise something. Risk review. As we say, risk review is a very important event. I will not directly go through and read out the slide, but I can tell you risk review when it should to be done. As a part of failure investigation, you have a good risk assessment in the process, but you have find risks always based on the knowledge. I always recommend risks is always based on knowledge. Today I have made a risk assessment based on the knowledge, but tomorrow the people who are reviewing, they are more knowledgeable on the process, so they will find something new. Even though you have a failure investigation, so we should incorporate the risk assessment. When a risks are identified as a result of increasing product knowledge, yes, when your knowledge is increasing, you should enrich your risk management process also. Whenever we take change control and we take a critical change, we change something in process, in equipment, that also incorporated in the your risk management. Upon implementation of process change, as I said, and as a part of periodic review, nothing is done in my process, again I will take that risk and again I will review with my system whether any new thing is added, whether my control measures are weak. We need to give more strong justification, more strong control in my system. Life cycle of risk management program. As we know, risk is a life cycle approach. The program is a life cycle approach, so we have to initiate the risks. From the initiation, there is a planning, there is a selection of team, there is a product analysis, then we conduct a risk assessment, then we identify what is wrong, how is wrong, whether it is acceptable or not. We draw a risk control. Then risk acceptance, we accept the risks, we reduce the risks with some control. Then also a residue risks lying in my system, we accept the risks. Then we communicate the risks to the stakeholders for, as I said, for change in your system, maybe SOPs, maybe process, maybe you need to bring some new controls in your machines. So once it's done, we will do risk review in a periodic interval, or other than your system or process is changed meanwhile. So risk review will start from again conducting risk assessment. So when you are talking about the equipment, suppose you are going to procure some equipment, we have designed some components, sub-components. We are talking about the sub-components. We need to give focus on those sub-components. First of all, it is design. When we talking about the design, when you talking about the designing of URS, we need a URS for a machine. That is called user requirement specification. You need to be clearly specify what is your user requirement and your requirement based on the risks. So it is recommended to make a risk assessment before you procure or before you plan for a machine. So this is the first criteria, that is design. Capacity, I build a capacity. Example, blower, motor, condenser, exhaust system, refrigerator. If you have a cold chamber, you should look back how much capacity is this, whether the refrigeration system is able to keep it to 2.8, if it is a 2.8 chamber, sufficient space. The chamber you are procuring, Is the chamber fulfill your requirement? Whatever the sample we are going to keep the chamber. What are the shelf size, number of shelf size, cleanability. When we talking about any equipment, there is always issue of cleanability. Maybe it is a GMP equipment, maybe it is a non-GMP equipment. But in case of GMP equipment, cleanability factor, the safety, the risks in the cleanability is very high. You should accept this, and you should check whether your system is capable for automated cleaning. If it is a manual cleaning, then it is a big challenge. How we are going to take the manual cleaning challenge? Then again, loading and unloading, it is also critical. Whether you have a sufficient space for door movement, whether there is a sufficient space for man material movement. Proper illuminations. Proper illumination sometimes we think is a light factor, but proper illumination is very much required. Whether you are going to procure a packing machine and you are going to check some visual defects, so illumination is very required. In fact, as per FDA guidance, we need to check the illuminations also in your area for proper visibility. Next is control system. As you know, we have a 21 CFR in place, and the requirement of 21 CFR, electronic signature and electronic records. So we need to challenge our system for in terms of control system, that is access level verification. You need to check the access level, how many access level your system is providing, and each and every access level is protected by the password protections. Sometimes we asking about the admin level. You should go and check whether there is a 2 admin level available or not, whether you can generate multiple admin. As you know, when you're talking about the admin, the person cannot be available in our system 24/36 hours. So multiple admin provision should to be there, so we can control your system very good, in very good way. Human machine interface, this is HMI. You need to go and look back the HMI, how HMI is working, whether the screens are okay or not, whether the language is English or not, whatever your regional language. Data backup, we should go and check whether what are the conditions of data backup. It is electronic data backup, it is a hard copy data backup. There is a possibility of LAN, we can pull the data from another system to in your main server. Online monitoring and record, how you online and monitoring the records. And printed data, how you want the data should to be print. Sometimes we have a certain cases we need a check by sign, we need a done by sign, we need a company logo, that need to be designed and that need to be proposed in the initial level. Otherwise we will struggle. Once you procure the machine, then we will propose for the changes, then it will hamper our productivity. Next is a very critical part, that is component. As you know, in the medicine manufacturing facility, we are always talking about the product contact parts. Suppose there is a vessel where you are going to mix a solution, any surfaces. So MOC verification need to be required, and you need to mention what MOC you want exactly. Surface roughness is also a critical factor. You need to check whether you want a internal mirror surface finish or external. For internal and external there is a different RA value. This is called roughness factor. Again, weld joint, how they are joining the weld, whether the welder certificate is available or not. These are the critical things. Gaskets, whether your gasket can stay in the high temperature pressure, where you are planning we put a gasket in the PhD or MCDP, where the temperature is more than 100 or 80. Even whether your gaskets is compatible in acid or alkaline, that you need to be checked. Filter and housing. Next is filter and housing. So porosity and certificate should to be there for filter and housing. Proper tagging also required. Proper tagging of components is required for the identifications. Once you do your maintenance, if there is a tagging, you can easily identify from your PNID. Then lubrications, if any lubricant is using in your clean rooms, you need to be take care of that. You should check whether there is a certificate of food grade or not. Then safety is always our first priority. Once we save in our work area, we can give better assurance to our patient as well as our home also. So first point is electricity. Equipment should to be start with the human intervention only. After regain the power, the equipment should start from the step it stopped. As you know, it is a process safety, and this is a personal safety also, those who are working in the floor. Control system, machines to stop with alarm, so people can identify, yes, it is stopped. Notification, various utility supply should to be interlocked and indicated with the alarm. As you know, there is a notification and there is a control system, how it is work. Utility, you have a compressor system is there, and you need to 6 kg pressure for your system. It is not available, the system should notify you, yes, your pressure is low for compressor. Noise level verification is very important. It should to be below 75 dB at the distance from 1 meter. Whenever it is not possible, you should have a ear plug to reduce the noise level. Moving part wiring, all the moving part and wiring should to be covered as a part of and proper earthing of the equipment should to be take care of it. Measuring instruments, next is measuring instruments. So measuring instruments is nothing but your gauges, your temperature probes, whatever the components are going to give you valuable inputs, show you value of your process, temperature, pressures and all those parameters. So that instrument should to be calibrated properly and should to be mounted properly. Sometimes you have a cold chamber and you have put a sensor in the top of the cold chamber, which is very difficult to dismantle over there, or calibration is very painful. So you should to check whether there is a extra cable lying over there, that you can dismount and you can give calibrations of the sensor. Then calibration certificate also play important role. You should have a traceability, you should have a document, because you know auditors see documents, not the efforts that you are working 24/36. They need document. So when we discuss about the document, we can say the component certificates, whatever the component is lying over there in the machines. Operational manual also important. Machine maintenance manual, then SOP for cleaning and operations, training for the relevant, and preventive maintenance. It also important portions. Once you have a good maintenance practice of your machines, it will work for you long. Then you know there is a process impact. Process impact need to be review in terms of operational verification, performance verification, procedural implementation, review of validation state, whether the machine is lying in the validation state or not, preventive maintenance and breakdown handling, how you handle the breakdown, and you should to assess why breakdown is happening, what is the corrective actions can be taken to reduce the frequent breakdown. These are the slides that talk about the how you can assess the risks. Now is the qualitative approach. You know, this is the graphical presentation I have drawn you for qualitative approach, where the low, medium, high, the scales are available, and the medium is ALARP, as low as reasonable and practical, where the the risk is medium, but you need to again check and you have to pull it in the reduced level, low level, nothing but. So qualitative risk ranking, the ranking we can take as a high, medium and low. And one thing I need to be give you very clarity, detections, the two things, severity you can draw based on the impact on the patients. It is directly impacting, patient can be death, you should give the severity very high. When we talk medium, the impact of the unwanted event is moderate, means there is the impact, not directly impacting my patient, but long run it can impact, so we can consider as a medium. And low impact is the unwanted event, whether we are not considering, it will not going to impact any patients. So high, medium, low, the severity in the high, medium, low with the practicality we should think. And occurrence, in case of occurrence, when you talking about the machine, not process, as today our discussion on the machine, so occurrence we can reduce based on the detectability. Can be high based on the automations. As you know, nowadays machines are coming with automations with good quality control and automation system that can detect all kind of process malfunctioning, and it will give alarm and indication to your system. Sometimes it will hold your process also to save further processing. So the automation always give you the high detectability. You can detect any kind of failure very quickly, and once your system having high detectability, then there is a less occurrence of any kind of incident. So think about it and give more detectability, and you will always reduce risks. And one more thing I need to be added over there. Sometimes we tell about we have a procedure in line, we have a manpower in line, those who are well trained. But my dear friends, men are driven by emotionals. By putting manpower and documentary control, we cannot have the detectability, strong detectability. For detectability, we need a automated control. So man having the probability for doing more errors, so we cannot reduce the risk based on the manpower, based on the trained manpower. This is a basis FMEA model. Normally we see and three factor in risk ranking action. We can see severity, occurrence and detection. Based on that we draw the RPM level. Basically after it is high RPM, you can do risk assessment, or you can relook the risks with the proper mitigation system. So you need to, in A there's a reference, in B the process steps and unit operation you need to write, and unwanted event you need to think in the C. Then you have to put severity, how severity is, whether the patient is directly impacting or not, cause of the failure, what are the reason, and occurrence, what is the probability of occurrence, and current control you need to give, whether your control is sufficient or not sufficient. Then based on that you have to put detectability, and your RPM will be calculated. Once the RPM is calculated, you need to accept the risks, and if it is high, you should have a recommended actions, and again you need to look after your recommended actions whether your risk is goes down or not. So we are talking about the example, live example. If you're talking about the compounding and filtration vessel, as you know, in injectable we normally use the compounding and filtration vessel. So I just drawn a small example. Suppose you have an agitator, and the risk scenario is agitator not working properly. So justification is what will happen if if the agitator not working properly, mix will not be proper, may not be uniform, right? Na? So our intention of mixing should to be uniform. So what is the mitigations to control the speed? Agitator shall be provided with a VFD with indicator, that is variable frequency drive. An alarm should to be generated if the motor is tripped, and the RPM beyond the set limit shall notify the operator with the alarm and shut down the process. So these are the control. Then agitator performance shall be controlled and shall be verified during the OQ, and same shall be reviewed in the requalifications. PMP procedure shall be there in place. In between it should be covered by the PMP whether the agitator is working or not. Next is filling machine. We are talking about liquid filling machine. Suppose we have a nitrogen purging system. The risk, what is the risk? Oxidation after filling. So we put nitrogen. So nitrogen flow reduce or stop. This is the scenario. In that case, we can have a oxidation chances. So you should have as a part of mitigation nitrogen flow meter, and that should control the proper flow. And alarm should to become if there is a low pressure of nitrogen. Most of the pharmaceutical industry, they are procuring the nitrogen cylinder, they not having the generation system. So you should replace the cylinder once the alarm is get, and your system is automatically stopped. That interlock should to be in place. Then one more thing is load cell. When you fill the targeted fill volume, there is a chances for rejections. So in case of load cell malfunctioning, it can be reject. So operation range should to be verified. When you are talking about the load cell, it should cover the operating range, and calibration should to be established. and you should check whether the range need to be calibrated. Your use range always within the calibrated range, not outside the calibrated range. And PM procedure need to be established, and SOP shall be prepared for, and training shall be imparted. Next is de-pyrogenation tunnel. You know, this tunnel is using for de-pyrogenation and sterilization. When the vials were washing and it's moved through the tunnel and it is going to filling machine. So two components we are talking about. One is conveyor. Overloading of the conveyor. If your conveyor is overloaded, if filling machine stops, suppose your filling machine is stopped, then vials will be accumulated on the conveyor and conveyor can be overloaded. So interlock in between the filling machine and tunnel should to be there, and same shall be checked in the OK. What is the interlock? That is the, if your filling end is accumulated and is a high, it is automatically stop the washing machine, and washing machine will stop the putting vial in your conveyor. So your conveyor will not be overloaded and chance of breakage of vial will be less. Then conveyor speed variability. Improper heat distribution and penetration during operation. If there is a speed variability, so we need a VFD shall be provided with indicator, variable frequency drive, and speed of the conveyor shall be challenged and verified during your qualification, and PMP shall be done. So this is the scenario I am discussing based on my knowledge and based on some example. You need to put your knowledge and more effort on this. Then suppose sometime we are talking about the LAF bench. It is very common in testing area and sometimes production areas also. So subcomponent of the LAF bench is blower. What happen, you know, vibration in the workbench. If there is a vibration in the workbench, your sample may be fall due to the vibration. So as a part of medication, a anti-vibratory pad or mechanism shall be provided to avoid the vibration. Second one, the blower. The blower efficiency reduced. Once you know there is a possibility to run the blower by 24 hours, so you know the blower efficiency will be reduced, so we should stop the blower. So continuous running of the blower shall cause a lot of power loss and maybe damage of the blower. So there should be on off switch which will provide the blower operations, and you can you should have a timer also. Suppose it's a new point I am discussing. If there is a possibility of timer, the timer will indicate with the alarm the machine is ready. Suppose, you know, in case of LAF, what is the most recommended, that you should have established recovery timing. Once you switch off the LAF and you have switched on the LAF, when you should use the LAF. So you validate the recovery timing, you can put into the system. Suppose it is 15 minutes. Once you on the machine will automatically calculate the 15 minutes. When the 15 minutes is done, machine will give the alarm and it will shows yes, you can use the bench right now. Rather than documenting in your logbook, I have started in 7 o'clock, then at 7:30 I have done analysis. It is a better approach. You should have a control in LF. MCDP. MCDP is nothing but the generation system of WFI. So we know the subcomponent temperature controller is a very important part of MCDP. So the temperature of the steam goes down if it is not work properly. The justification controller not get activated whenever steam temperature fall the below set point. So controller challenge test shall be performed in IQ when periodic preventive maintenance shall be known whether the MCDP is nothing but the generation system of WFI. So we know the subcomponent temperature controller is a very important part of MCDP. So the temperature of the steam goes down if it is not work properly. The justification controller not get activated whenever steam temperature fall the below set point. So controller challenge test shall be performed in IQ when periodic preventive maintenance shall be known whether the controller are in good condition or not. Steam pressure valve, it is also important. Delay in distillation. Due to insufficient steam supply, multi-column efficiency may be decreased. So steam pressure valve shall be considered in the OQ and same shall be performed in the PMP. So this is the risk assessment. Anyhow, in risk mapping, there is a process mapping we will discuss in our next session. This is the simple process step of injectable, and some process strategy we have shown in this slide. we'll give more clarity in our next session. This is the reference ICHQ9 PDA TR44 PICS Quality Risk Management, Annexure 2 WHO TR981 Hydrolex, and one article I have chosen from the Rules of Government Medicines Product European Union, Volume 4, this one. Thank you very much for your patience. Any kind of questions and queries, you can directly go to the uscgmp.com and you can post your queries. Thank you very much. Have a good day.